A critique and evaluation of the K-12 curriculum submitted by Alan Guimaray, Maria Althea Faura, Quennie Gagula, and Maria Anya Ysabelle of BS Ed 3A, major in English. To start, let us first identify what the K-12 curriculum is. The K-12 program covers kindergarten and 12 years of basic education, which is 6 years of primary ed, 4 years of junior high school, and an additional 2 years for senior high school. This is to provide sufficient time for the mastery of concepts and skills for lifelong learners and graduates for tertiary education. It has also been identified that K-12 is subject-centered not only in the United States, but is now also being adapted all over the world. A subject-centered curriculum design describes what needs to be studied and how it should be studied by the students and as well as the teachers, and how they go about to implement this kind of education. In the first figure, we can see prior to the implementation of the K-12 curriculum that the Basic Educational Curriculum or BEC required high school to have 1 to 4 years, grade school, which is grade 1 to 6, and preschool was then an optional choice. However, we can also see that from the implementation up to the present, there is an additional 2 years, which is called senior high school. Junior high school is now grade 7 to 10, with grade school having grades 1 to 6 and preschool given a mandatory requirement. Figure number 2 shows the entry ages for kindergarten, primary education, junior high school, and senior high school, which was then called grades 1 to 6, grade 7 to 10, and an additional grade 11 to 12 in preparation for tertiary education. Having said all of this, what is the purpose for K-12 in the Philippines? The Philippines is the last of the Asian countries to adapt the K-12 curriculum, and it aims to prove Filipino students skills in mathematics, science, and linguistics to further exhibit global competence with the prospects of quality education through the strands. Lastly, let us first identify its overall goals. The overall goal of the K-12 curriculum is to produce quality education and globally competent students with the mastery of lifelong skills.
It is too early to show the results and effectiveness of the K-12, wherein that we haven't exactly see if the employment of the first K-12 batch would skyrocket than the previous years. The outcome could not be assumed so easily, so we do not know whether the goals set will be achieved or not. We can take a look, however, after the years of implementation. The goal of the enhanced K-12 basic education program is to create a functional basic education system that will produce productive and responsible citizens equipped with the essential competencies and skills for both lifelong learning and employment. Let's see what has K-12 curriculum has done so far that can improve the students' lifestyle and education system throughout the years after its implementation. Increasing of enrollment. In June 2016, the senior high school enrollment rose and exceeded its expected targets of enrollees. According to Jesus Mateo, Undersecretary for Governance, Operations, and Planning for DepEd, they were able to avert the anticipated dropout with 1,570,610 students enrolled in senior high school. Increase of interest in college education. In the past years, only 50% of fourth-year high school students proceed to college. Due to Republic Act 10931, the Free Higher Education Act, it ensures the students to have free access in tertiary education, which lets poorer and unfortunate students to proceed with no hassle. Entrepreneurial trust. Due to the added subject of entrepreneurship across the tracks to make them not only job ready but money smart as well. There are few success stories from students who use what they learn from the subject. Subjects that teach students about life skill can help them boost in life.
The central feature of the K-12 program is the upgrading of the basic education curriculum to ensure that learners acquire the relevant knowledge and skills they will need to become productive members of society. These are the setbacks and loopholes of the K-12 curriculum and its implementation in the context of the Philippines. 1. The K-12 curriculum entails the lack of preparation and professional development. The transition between the old curriculum and the new one can be quite challenging to the stakeholders that are the school administrators, teachers, parents, and students. Such drastic change to the educational system requires a long-term preparation to have a solid implementation. As of yet, it is fair to say that a large number of teachers in the country have not been fully prepared for the program, which may have impacted the education quality received by the students. It calls for further and more seminars and training for teachers to tackle the design of the curriculum, desired outcomes of each grade level, and the medium of instruction, time allotment, learning resources, assessment and rating of learning outcomes, and culminating activities and performances. 2. The competencies have an excessive academic burden on students. This is due to the integration of lessons in the real-life contexts and authentic learning and assessment. This contains hands-on, time-consuming, and collaborative learning experiences. It also requires students to have community engagement that is civic learning, challenge-based, project-based, and problem-based. 3. A 2-year additional burden to parents and students may lead to an increased number of dropouts. The additional 2 years in the K-12 program will mean an additional burden to parents and students who even at present are already struggling to finish the 10-year cycle. This will lead to the probability of students dropping out. 4. Students have insufficient mastery of basic competencies due to the congested curriculum. The truncated basic education cycle exerted a perverse effect on the entire educational system. Filipino students, while studying more, were learning less because they were not getting enough time to master basic concepts. 6. The use of MTB-MLE, a mother tongue as a medium of instruction for grades 1 to 3. It does not support students' learning because away from school, the local dialect is freely spoken and understood. Instead, English language must be given focus as preparation of students for grade 4 until college. There is also a tendency that students' capacity to learn other languages may decrease. Some teachers admit also that they don't understand much textbook content because the mother tongue being used is not actually the mother tongue a particular place is using. The use of mother tongue in modules was generalized with every region, and it is not fair to every diverse child.
Here are the pros and cons in K-12 implementation. But before that, here is a short background in K-12 implementation. The Department of Education stresses that the country is prepared for a big shift in education system. In fact, it has worked to fulfill the gaps in a number of classrooms, teachers, and textbooks. The government also believes that K-12 curriculum in the Philippines will put Filipino students at par with the rest of the world. Truly, investing in education is the key towards reaching national growth and development. To prove that K-12 system is more than just adding 2 more years to high school, here are the positive effects of K-12 implementation. Preparedness for tertiary learning. With adoption of K-12 scheme, students are expected to graduate at age a bit older than past graduates. Readiness to join the workforce. Unlike the old system, K-12 does not compel each student to take college after completing senior high school. In fact, this scheme empowers students to make a choice on their own. Skill competency in the global job market. K-12 aims to improve Filipino students' mathematical, scientific, and linguistic competence. With the new curriculum, DepEd promised to offer higher quality education through tracks. A more active role in the learning process. The envisioned K-12 curriculum is designed to be learner-centered, which will greatly encourage students to be more engaged in the learning process. More skilled and competent graduates. With the new curriculum, senior high school students can specialize in the field that they are interested in. As a result, upon graduation, they will have the specific job-related skills they need, even without a college degree. Easy recognition as global citizens and professionals. With K-12 education, Filipino graduates will be automatically recognized as professionals abroad because we are following the international education standard as practiced by all nations. For some students and regions, K-12 might prove unrewarding. Here are some negative effects of K-12 curriculum implementation. Adding 2 more years in high school, it will certainly be financially burdensome for many families at this point. Hence, it is an indirect assault to our people's right to education. Lack of preparation. The government is not prepared to implement a 12-year basic education cycle mandated by the K-12, as manifested by the actual insufficiency of classrooms, teachers, libraries, and other facilities. Delayed working experience. K-12 might prove unsuitable for the poor children who need to give an earning hand to their parents at young age. Also, students stay in dilemma regarding their career and keep changing courses. Anti-tertiary education mantra. K-12 program will manufacture young and docile laborers who will be forced to keep and be permanently chained to low-paying contractual jobs, at a time when even many college graduates are unable to find good jobs. To wrap up, the implementation of K-12 curriculum in the country drew negative reactions from various societal groups. Despite calls to suspend the program, the government remained firm, saying this new educational system offers opportunity for Filipino students and the national economy to be globally competitive.